you want the door open or?
Leave the door open. Close the door. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Off the Lip radio show. Show number 700 and a lot. So tonight my guest is Santa Cruz County 3rd District Supervisor. My friend, Mr. Justin Cummings, is in the house. And newly appointed as a member of the California Coastal Commission. You're a member? Is that what you call it?
Commissioner.
You're a commissioner of the California Coastal Commission is there a region for Santa Cruz? Is it for Santa Cruz or is it for?
Yeah, it's Central Coast. So San Mateo County,
yeah.
Santa Cruz County, Monterey County.
That's your territory.
That's my area.
I'm gonna start off with that with the Coastal Commission. How did you get that gig? I mean, did they come knocking on your door, or was it something that you applied for, or it seemed like it just happened like really quickly?
Yeah, so we found out that there was going to be a vacancy for the Central Coast.
Yeah.
And
who's we?
The Board of Supervisors.
Oh, okay.
And actually, I'd say the region, because the position requires that I'm in right now requires that you have to be either elected to a city council.
Yeah.
Or County Board of Supervisors within kind of that Central Coast area. And so... And
did you ever require some type of education or knowledge? Nothing?
Nope, it's a political appointment. So the requirements were that you had to get nominated by either the County Board of Supervisors or the City Selection Committee.
Yeah.
And I submitted my name to get nominated by the...
You just threw it in the hat.
I just threw my hat in. And so, then once the nominations go in and the nomination period closes, we actually all had to fill out applications and submit letters of recommendation. And so then
how many people applied?
I think there were 14 of us.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And this appointment was for the Speaker of the California State Assembly. So that's Anthony Rendon. So then they reviewed the applications and they reached out to conduct an interview.
Yeah.
And so I made it through the first round and got a second round interview and made it through the second round and then got a phone call. And
really?
Asked me if I'd be willing.
Were you pretty stoked about that?
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let's take a pie, right? We'll take a pie. We'll take the Justin Cummings pie. How much time do you have for, as far as being Santa Cruz County District Supervisor, now you're doing Coastal Commission, your own life, your own need for your own quality of your own time. How's that pie? How much time do you allot each one?
It really depends on the week.
Yeah.
Because some weeks I don't have a whole lot of things going on. I don't have kids either, so if I had a family, I imagine it'd be way harder.
Right.
But yeah. So as a result, if we have a really light supervisor's agenda, that frees up time to do other things.
Right. The Coastal Commission require you to do a certain amount?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the Coastal Commission meets for 3 days in a row. So when we
every month,
we meet once a month.
Okay.
3 days in a row per month.
Okay.
And so depending on what's on there as well,
right.
There's some things that are fairly straightforward.
Right.
Like a house wants to, an 800 square foot house wants to get demoed and turned into a 2-story, 2,000 square foot house.
Right.
Some of those applications are a little bit more straightforward than, city or county local coastal plan, which can take a lot.
If you have the 500 square foot house, you want to do the 25. Now you want to turn it into a 25. Like this house next door.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's in contract or whatever, but they're obviously going to rebuild that house next door because I think it's can be subdivided into four lots.
Mm-hmm.
But how powerful is the Coastal Commission?
Yeah, well, so jurisdictions have to create a local coastal plan.
Let me finish what I'm saying. Excuse me. Do you have? Can you streamline it in any way? When you face the Coastal Commission, can anything be streamlined as far as you want to turn that 500 square foot house into a 2,500 square foot house?
Well, so for example, jurisdictions can can apply to have a local coastal plan approved. And that local coastal plan more or less is how that jurisdiction is aligning with the Coastal Act.
Right.
And so if they're able to submit a plan that is approved by the Coastal Commission, then they can, then the city or the jurisdiction can approve
Right.
proposals for development within the coastal zone without it having to go to the Coastal Commission.
Okay.
But there are certain things that can be appealed to the Coastal Commission. So if jurisdiction moves forward with a development, people are upset with that development, they disagree, they think that it doesn't fit with the coastal plan, they can appeal it to the Coastal Commission, and then the Coastal Commission can weigh in.
Right.
So those local coastal plans are more or less designed so that everything on the coast, any development on the coast of California, doesn't always have to go to the Coastal Commission to be very overwhelming.
Really?
So that's the kind of the streamlined process.
Okay. Now you're a young man from Chicago.
I am.
Born and raised in Chicago.
Raised. I was actually born in Milwaukee.
Oh, you were born in Milwaukee?
Yeah.
Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Our number one fan lives in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He comes out here every year,
nice.
and he was just here for a little visit. We got him on the show.
Nice.
But yeah, I've always wanted to go back there and surf the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
Did you ever surf the Great Lakes?
I did not, but there is the Great Lakes Surfing Federation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Those guys are, I mean, you think the Mavericks people are crazy? No.
Yeah.
Those people are nuts.
Yeah, when it's, below zero and everything's freezing and there's guys out in the water.
Yeah. So were you born and raised there?
I was born in Milwaukee, raised in Chicago. I moved there when I was about 2.5.
And how long you lived in Santa Cruz for?
I've lived in Santa Cruz since 2007, on and off. While I was living here, I spent time in Panama, and then I left in 2013 to move to Miami, moved back in 2015, so I've bounced in and out of Santa Cruz since 2007.
What made you stay here?
The environment.
Right.
I mean, I think that one of the things that I love is that it's the people. The fact that people are very environmentally conscious, environmentally friendly. They really care about the environment.
Right.
Because I've lived in other places that have been beautiful. I lived in Miami, completely different mindset around environmental protection, and I can't stand cold water. So Miami was great, but I'd rather live here because of the people and the environment.
You've been supervised since what, December 8th last year? December 8th?
Well, so the election was certified, I think, around then.
Yeah, I think it was November. I think it was.
And then I got sworn in on, I believe it was December 29th.
Was it?
Yeah.
What? By the way, I got notes. This was maybe the first time in many shows I got notes. So I'm going to use them. What have you learned so far being supervisor? And also what successes have you had in your short reign? What successes have you had, and what have you been stonewalled with?
I'd say the successes so far.
I know it's short. But it's been 5 months, but
yeah. Well, and it's been 3 months of storms. The first, I think, 13 weeks that I was in office were all disaster declarations.
Yeah.
But even with that, we've been working really hard in my office. We were able to move forward an ordinance to prohibit private child transport companies for parental reunification programs from touching kids, and that was the result of a incident that happened. I think it was last year, where there's a video of this private transport company, and they were really kind of carrying kids out and not necessarily fighting with them, but restraining them and trying to pull them in a vehicle in such a way that many people were very upset. And so, when it comes to child protective services, like, those people can't, touch children, and so we wanted to hold private companies to the same standards as our public companies. And then I'd say the other thing that we've really been working on has been, in terms of the storms, we found that, so the California Public Utilities Commission, after the fires in 2020, require 72-hour backup power systems for communications, and many of those, and that was supposed to be implemented in 2000. And the decision was made around February of 2021, and they gave about 18 months for the companies to implement those backup services, which meant, sometime in 2022 they should have had those services in.
Right.
And when the storms were happening, people were losing power immediately or within 8 to 10 hours. They didn't have that 72-hour backup.
Right.
So we've been kind of diving down that path and really trying to make sure that moving forward we have backup power systems for communication so that when the power goes out in the mountains, people at least have 72 hours to kind of be able to communicate and figure out what they're going to do.
Okay, cool. That's cool. What is your focus as Santa Cruz representative for the Coastal Commission? What once you earn that seat, what did you want to kind of focus on?
Well, we're going to have a lot of issues coming to us related to, for example, what we just saw in these storms.
Right.
I mean, our coast.
I'm going to add to that.
Okay.
West Cliff Drive.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that we really need to start thinking about, and this is where I get to apply my environmental science background. Where do we armor? Where do we start talking about manage retreat? How are we going to deal with the impacts of climate change, and how that's going to influence storm surge, how sea level rise is going to impact the coast. So a lot of questions around now that we're in it, we're facing the impacts of climate change. How do we move forward?
Right.
In terms of how we protect the coast and what we're protecting it for.
Do you feel like West Cliff Drive, part of Steamer Lane coming down, falling in, part of Steamer Lane's falling into the ocean, and what happened with West Cliff Drive? Do you feel like you're just battling Mother Nature?
I'd say
all this, the storms are breaking the Capitola Pier, and what happened in Capitola, when brought the president out here, for Christ's sake.
I'd say in general, I don't want to talk specifics, but I'd say in general, these predictions, were coming to us 20, 30 years ago, where they're saying, as the temperatures increase, this is what we're going to start seeing happening. As the sea level rises, this is how we're going to be impacted by storm surges or king tides and all these different things.
Right.
And so, it's similar to what we've seen with coral bleaching, the increasing of hurricanes in the in the Caribbean. Now it's just we're starting to see those impacts here on the West Coast as well.
Did you want to like when the president was here, President Biden was here at Capitola? Did anybody want to say, Mr. President, would you mind coming down to Santa Cruz and seeing what really is our main problem here in Santa Cruz County, which is homelessness, right? This is, I think, the what happened to Capitola. The restaurant owners are kind of okay. You have insurance, FEMA. Did anybody think about, hey, can we just go do a little bypass here to take a look at what's going on in our town? And it's a major problem. It's getting worse. And by the way, there is no solution, even though that word solution's been thrown up in the air like a balloon.
I wasn't invited to the party.
You weren't invited to the party?
I was not invited, no. So,
You weren't invited to see the president, really?
No, I was not, no.
Were other supervisors invited?
Yeah, Zach Friend and Felipe Hernandez were the two supervisors.
You went to the district, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and in all honesty, their district got hit way worse. You know, the third district. The city of Santa Cruz, got impacted with West Cliff. Aside from that, we had power outages, we had potholes, trees coming down.
Yeah.
That was it. But in terms of actual damage to infrastructure, it was much more worse.
Yeah. Going to my notes here, ladies and gentlemen, each county is responsible for submitting a local coastal program to the Coastal Commission. Santa Cruz County was denied. What was the problem with it, and what are the opportunities moving forward?
Well, that's something that we're going to be working on at the county.
Okay.
I can't talk specifics.
I know you can't talk specifics.
Yeah.
You only talk what you can talk.
Yeah.
I don't want you saying anything you can't say.
Yeah, but I'm going to be diving into that. Since I've been in office, the biggest thing that I've been focusing on has been the storms.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to start really diving into the local coastal program as it's moving forward.
As a supervisor or as a coastal?
I have to do both.
Both?
Yeah.
So which hat? Do you go to work each day with two hats?
Yeah.
Stick one on, right? Phone rings, phone rings supervisor. Some phone rings.
Sure do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And you wanted to take that on?
Yeah.
When you studied environmental sciences, right? Way back when, in your younger days.
Yeah.
Was Coastal Commission on your radar at that time? Like, no.
No.
It wasn't?
No. I was mostly...
what were you going to do with your education? Be a teacher or...
I was hoping to do research or be a professor, but then, as time went on, I've always been more into applied science.
Yeah.
And so I thought about policy. I just didn't know how to get into policy really, but this is an opportunity for me to put my education to work in policy. And I'll say that the first meeting that we had on the last day, some people had called in because there's a project plan on the Farallones where they're going to drop rat poison to kill mice on the island, and there's a lot of concern about it. But one of the good things from my experience is that I actually worked on 2 projects where they did that. One was in the Galapagos, and one was in Chile.
Yeah. And
both were through a local organization called Island Conservation. And in both projects, for the Galapagos one, they saw, for the first time in 150 years, baby tortoises being born naturally in the wild after that application.
Right.
And now those tortoises on the island Pine Zone are no longer on the endangered species list, they're threatened.
Right.
So it worked, and we didn't see a major loss of other species. They're actually finding species that are new to science on those islands, and they saw similar impacts on the Choros Islands in Chile, where they eradicated rabbits because they were impacting, I believe it was storm petrel populations and
Right.
Humboldt penguins. So I was able to just express to other commissioners who were concerned that I've actually done that work, and we've seen it actually benefit biodiversity.
So it would work. It would work out there.
There's a possibility.
Yeah.
But I think that when we think about impacts to populations and individual animals, I understand the concerns that people have, but let's also think about species going completely extinct. That's what we're trying to stop.
That's good. That's big order. Big order, huh?
Yeah.
Coastal Commission question. I'm co-commission. Now I got the 2 hats. Coastal Commission hat, right? Every property owner here, right? Any property owner on the ocean, everything has to go through the Coastal Commission, right? There's no shortcuts.
Well, like I said,
can they make it? Can they go ahead with the decision that they want to make without having to talk to the Coastal Commission?
yes, depending on if the jurisdiction has a local coastal plan. So that's where the local coastal plan comes into play.
Okay.
Because if
that local coastal plan is written in stone.
it's approved by the Coastal Commission, it has to be updated.
Right.
But if a jurisdiction submits their local coastal plan to the Coastal Commission, it gets approved, then the jurisdictions don't have to go through the Coastal Commission itself. They can make those determinations based on whether or not the project is consistent with the local coastal plan.
Right.
And the only way that people can get around that is if it gets appealed, right? So if somebody wants to build 10,000 square foot home,
Yeah.
if that's not consistent with the jurisdiction's local coastal plan,
You're
it
right.
won't get approved.
Right.
Or if a jurisdiction approves something and it's not consistent with the local coastal plan, someone can appeal it to the Coastal Commission, and then they can.
And if you get the work done without the Coastal Commission approval, then you're up shit creek.
You can, there's potential,
Right.
There's potential consequences.
Obviously, the storms is the big thing that affected Westcliff. Other items as far as a supervisor, homelessness, right? That's such a hard subject to talk about. TC and I have interviewed so many people about homelessness, so many mayors and supervisors and council members. It seems like it's a wave. Like it's a wave that's not. There's no flat day. It's just a big wave coming at us 24 hours a day.
Yep.
Right.
Sadly, and in my opinion, one of the biggest contributors to that is the way we have kind of structured our housing system. Because, let's be honest, we have tiny little beach houses here that shouldn't be worth $1 million.
Right.
They actually aren't worth $1 million.
Well, no, it's just it's an inflated price.
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
But it's the price people are willing to pay for.
Sure.
If you own one, if you own one, I'm sure, or if I own one, and I'm going to sell it, I'm going to get top dollar for it.
Sure, that's one way to look at it. But I also think that for communities, we also have to think about, well, like what are the services that we need, and where are those people going to live, right?
But if I own that, if I own a cottage here, I'm not gonna be the Mr. Nice guy and sell it for $200,000. Like it's a house in Chicago.
I totally
right?
I totally get where you're
I'm gonna
coming
be the
from.
greedy mofo that wants to get as much as I can.
Well, but that's a problem, right? I mean, I get where you're coming from, but we also have to think about the fact that at one point in time, people in this community who were teachers and who were public safety, who worked in medical professions, they could afford to buy a home. Those people can't.
No.
And if you have any mental health issues, or you're like, somebody who would normally be a service industry worker or what have you, you can't afford to live here. But those jobs are essential. Working at a grocery store is essential. And for people who are on that borderline, they get punted into homelessness. And once you end up homeless, it's a downward spiral. It's really hard to get out of. And so
very few people. Do you think very few people get out of it? It's a small percentage.
Well, no, I think there's a lot of people who do get. I think it's probably about a third.
Is it? Yeah.
Really? One thing that I actually haven't really talked about much is my uncle has ran homeless shelters in Chicago since I was a child. And when I was home 2 years ago and I got to talk to him, I asked him his opinion, and he was saying, there's people who are just down on their luck. About a third of them are down on their luck and they need help. There's about a third who have, substance abuse issues, and the only time they're gonna get help is when they need it, and that overlaps sometimes with mental health. And then you have people who just don't want it. They don't want it.
They like that lifestyle. They want to be homeless.
Well, they don't want to be a part of the system.
Right. Right.
So, and so that's why
can't help everybody.
Well, you can't help people unless they want help.
Right. Very true.
So you can't force it.
Where, as supervisor, where's your district? From where to where?
So it's the harbor.
Yeah.
All the way up to pretty much Waddell Creek. So it's the majority.
On the coast. Yeah.
So the majority of the city of Santa Cruz, Bonnie Doon, Davenport, Last Chance, Swanton.
Yeah.
Up to White House Canyon.
Right. What else needs to be fixed in this town? The roads need to be fixed in this town. The roads are bad. Right? If you go anywhere else in the world, I got to see my brother in New Jersey. Yeah, but you have to do the toll. You got to pay the toll. But the roads are perfect.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And here, if you're a skateboarder, I quit skateboarding because I kept running into potholes. I'm done about you, but I'm done. It's just like potholes are wrecking my car, for Christ's sake. But it's bad. That storm did a lot of damage, which is going to take a lot of money and a lot of time to fix.
Well, I will say for my district, people were letting us know, and I just really want to thank our Public Works Department too, or Community Development and Infrastructure Department with the county, because we call them and they would go up, into Bonnie Doon and patch a lot of the roads up there.
Yeah.
And it was, a recurring thing, and we, had conversations, and I get it. It's like you go up there, you patch them. There's another storm, it comes out, and so there was a lot of, but that's why it's called a patch, right? Because it's temporary, but
it's a Band-Aid. Yeah,
but the county, especially in the county, in the parts of my district that are unincorporated, they were getting up there and they were fixing the roads as quickly as they could. But I mean, you had crews working, over like crazy amounts of overtime because not only did you have the potholes, but you had the trees coming down, and we had slides in other parts of the county, and then we had entire roads wash out. Yeah. So they were busy. Yeah, busy. Yeah.
Your tenure as supervisor is 4 years, right? And coastal commissioner, we're gonna call you the commish. Right? The commish. Okay, so the commish has got how many years with the coastal commission? Is it infinitum?
No, so this appointment is for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then in 2 years, the speaker is gonna change over.
Yeah.
And Robert Rivas is gonna become the next Speaker of the Assembly. And so in 2 years, it'll be up to him if he wants to allow me to continue,
Yeah.
or if he wants to reopen the application process.
Right.
So we'll see.
You're at the bottom rung right now. You're at the bottom rung.
No, I'm on the commit. You know,
Oh,
I'm
you
on the
up
commission
there?
side. Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hopefully, as the 3rd district supervisor, still
You go for one more round?
at least.
Yeah.
Yep.
You enjoy it? Is it a fun job? You enjoy it?
It is. It's great.
Do you get to what's the quality of your life? You still get to do things you want to go do? Like you talking about wanting to learn how to sail or go sailing and stuff. But what do you got any time for yourself?
I feel like I have more time now than I used to have.
Yeah, really.
Because before I was working
With Sid
full time, city council.
Yeah.
And especially last year where I was, working mostly full time, sometimes part time, city council, part time I was on call with Integral Consulting, and then I was running for office.
Right.
So when you put all of that together,
Yeah.
I mean, it was really difficult to have free time.
Yeah.
So now,
Got some time.
yeah,
Good for you, buddy. So before I end the show here, I remember when I first met you. I think you remember that story. Remember that story? When I first met you, was it that? What was his name?
oh, Dave Revel.
No, it wasn't Dave Revel. This was the guy that had the party at the harbor. Remember? It was Pissing Rain. It was like Halloween. Was it Christmas or Halloween? Bob Pearson was there. It's a whole.
Oh no! It was Burley.
Burley's
Yeah.
party, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, with all due respect, it was full of white people. And there was this black guy there, and I'm like, the heck's he doing here? Right? And then somebody, I think Bob Pearson's pointing out, goes, he's our new mayor. I'm like, get the hell out of here! I go, that takes some gall right there. To become the black person, become the mayor of Santa Cruz. But you know what though? I tip my hat to you, buddy. You've done a lot of work around this town.
Well, I'm the first black county supervisor in
right.
the entire history.
Yeah, and the Coastal Commission?
No,
No,
I don't think so.
I don't know. But I want to, I tip my hat to you because you've stood up to a lot and you standing tall.
Thank you.
I'm sure I'm sure there's some doors that you try to make your way through, couldn't go through. But I think you go around and find a different way. If you're gonna hurdle, you jump over it or go around it. You get to the finish line.
Right.
If you stand there at the fucking door, I think you've made your way around and then you've got to the finish line and everything that you do. And I want to say thank you.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Yeah. Glad we got to meet.
I'm glad we got to meet too.
Pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Next show. Congressman Jimmy Panetta coming up. See what he's got to say. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.